unpack this. When you think about Indian food on a global scale, your mind probably goes straight to, the big names.
Mm-hmm.
Butter chicken, paneer tikka, all those rich, creamy staples from the north.
Right. Classics.
Exactly. But there's this silent, absolutely massive transformation happening completely under the radar. It's an economic and a culinary story happening along India's coastline. All, nearly 7,500 kilometers of it?
The huge story. And today we're going to do a deep dive into it, into Indian seafood.
Right.
We're exploring how this vast, ancient coastal food culture, which is really only known regionally for centuries, has just exploded into this colossal global economic force.
Yeah.
And this isn't just a simple trade story about volume. It's a monumental shift in how a nation feeds itself, and maybe more importantly for us, how it supplies the rest of the world.
And we are talking about numbers that can and do shift entire global supply chains. I mean, India is just blessed with this immense coastline. It's an unbelievable amount of real estate, for marine life and for aquaculture.
Yeah.
And this culinary secret is now a multi-billion-dollar story that's directly impacting dinner plates in, over 100 countries? The sheer scale is just staggering.
It really is, especially when you realize how much major markets, like right here in the United States, rely on India for certain key products.
Right. And what's so fascinating to me is that this whole global trade thing, it hinges entirely on trust.
100%.
Yeah.
On trust, which they basically had to engineer from the ground up. This did not happen by accident.
No.
India had to build and then demonstrate an unwavering commitment to quality, to safety standards that can meet the most rigorous, the most demanding regulations in the world. I'm thinking specifically Europe and North America.
Okay, so our deep dive today has a pretty clear mission then. First, we have to understand the source of the appeal, the culinary roots. What is it about that indigenous flavor profile that makes it so unique and, frankly, so globally appealing? Second, and this is where we get a little more technical, we'll look at the nuts and bolts of the trade, the surprisingly complex and strict quality control, the traceability systems, the technology that built this global trust.
And finally, we have to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
The social, the economic, and the environmental context. The challenges and the commitments that make this industry so complex and so critical today, supporting millions and millions of livelihoods.
So we're really moving beyond just the menu at your local curry house.
Oh, absolutely. We're analyzing the infrastructure, the policy, the science that drives a huge portion of the entire global seafood supply chain. It's this compelling story of tradition meeting technology and, ambitious trade goals meeting some very stringent international rules.
So let's start where it all begins. At the water itself, India's coastline is not just long, it is incredibly diverse. We're talking thousands of kilometers, touching two major seas, the Arabian Sea on the west coast, and then wrapping all the way around the peninsula to the Bay of Bengal on the east.
That geographical advantage is it's the non-negotiable foundation for this entire industry. You can't overstate it. You have these vast stretches of warm tropical waters. You have complex estuarine systems, mangrove forests, even coral reefs, all providing these very distinct ecological niches.
A huge variety of habitat.
A huge variety. And that diversity of habitat fosters a level of biodiversity that, frankly, very few other countries can truly match in their own coastal waters.
And that biological bounty, that must mean the catch itself is just astonishingly varied. This isn't a story about one or two big marketable fish.
Not at all. It's a whole ecosystem that's feeding the market. It results in this incredible diversity of species, both wild caught and farmed. You're talking about high value pelagic fish, like various species of sea bass, kingfish, tuna. Those are crucial for the export market.
Right.
Then you have the essential staples for local consumption, things like Indian mackerel, pomfret, sardines, different types of croakers, and of course the incredibly important shellfish sector, prawns, crabs, squid, the list goes on.
And, what's so critical for anyone unfamiliar with the region to understand is that in these coastal states, places like Goa, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra seafood is not seen as some occasional treat. It's not a luxury item.
No, it's a staple food. It is deeply, deeply interwoven with local identity, with daily rituals, with the entire cultural matrix of the place.
So over generations.
Over generations, a massive body of traditional knowledge has been built up. Knowledge about the seasons, about sustainable catch practices, preservation methods, and crucially for our story, the complex flavor profiles. That tradition has provided the foundational techniques that the global consumer is now, clamoring for.
Which brings us right to the flavor. What makes these profiles so distinct? It seems to be this marriage of super fresh catch with these layered aromatic spices and a rich, complex gravy.
That layering is really what distinguishes Indian cuisine globally. It's a very sophisticated use of both whole and ground spices that are fried in oil or ghee, a technique called tempering or tadka, to release their volatile oils and just maximize the aroma before you add anything else. The goal is complex depth, not just raw, simple heat.
So let's get specific. What are those essential flavor architects?
Well, you almost always start with the foundational trinity: turmeric, cumin, and coriander. Turmeric gives you that earthy color, that warmth. Cumin is smoky, it's savory. Coriander is bright and a little citrusy.
Okay.
But then you layer on the aromatic complexity of garam masala, which can vary wildly by region, but often has things like cinnamon, cardamom, cloves. And those are often combined with mustard seeds and curry leaves that are quickly fried right at the start.
And I think the real genius here is that these aren't just seasonings to mask the flavor of the fish. They feel engineered to elevate the natural sweetness of the shrimp or the texture of the fish. They work in harmony.
That's absolutely right. The spices complement the protein. But here's where the cuisine really distinguishes itself from, say, other global seafood preparations.
Like Mediterranean or Japanese styles.
Exactly, which rely more on simple oil, salt, maybe some citrus. I'm talking about the critical role of souring agents.
Right.
You just don't see this level of tangy complexity used so functionally in most other seafood cuisines around the world.
That sour element, it feels non-negotiable for getting that perfect tang, that counterpoint to the richness that just cuts through and brightens the whole dish. So
Yeah.
what are they using?
They rely heavily on two indigenous souring agents. The first one is carand. It's the pulp of the tamarind fruit, and it provides this deep, rich, almost molasses-like sourness. It's fruity and complex, gives a curry a darker color and a really savory depth. It's perfect for slow-cooked dishes.
And the other one is less well known outside of India, but it's absolutely essential to that coastal palate.
That would be kokum. It's the dried rind of a specific fruit tree. And kokum gives this vibrant, almost pinkish color to a dish and provides a much sharper, slightly more acidic sourness than tamarind. It's a very distinct flavor that really defines the coastal cuisine of places like Maharashtra and Goa.
So just by knowing whether they use tamarind or kokum, you already know a lot about the dish's profile.
Exactly. And then you have the third layer, which is the influence from centuries of global contact, specifically the Portuguese influence on the western coast.
Ah, right.
Yeah. In Goan and some Maharashtrian dishes, you see this lasting legacy of Portuguese trade, which introduced the consistent use of vinegar, often made from palm sap. This gives certain Goan dishes a distinctly sharper, more assertive, almost fermented tang compared to the deep fruitiness of tamarind.
It's like a clean, bright acid versus a deep, rich one.
That's a great way to put it. And when you look at the regional culinary signatures, you can really see this flavor differentiation play out.
Take Goa and Maharashtra on that west coast.
Perfect example. Those regions are known for bold, often fiery flavors that really hit you with intensity. They use a lot of coconut, but the core profile involves that signature tang from vinegar or kokum. The Portuguese influence is just unmistakable. It leans toward punchy heat and profound sourness.
Now, if you travel south, down the Malabar coast to Kerala, the whole flavor profile undergoes this striking transformation.
It's a complete shift. The cuisine becomes much gentler, it's creamier, and it relies more on herbaceous elements. The focus is almost entirely on coconut milk for richness, complemented by the sharp aromatic notes of mustard seeds and curry leaves, often fried in local coconut oil.
A dish like fish malabari, for example. It's often described as having a watery consistency, which might surprise people who are used to those thick northern curries.
It might, but the flavor is incredibly deep and subtle. It relies on that creamy coconut base, with a very gentle, not aggressive tang from maybe some mild tamarind or even green mango.
And, the brilliance of this culinary variation, from the fiery, tangy Goan style to the mild, creamy Keralan style, is that it gives Indian seafood this universal appeal.
It really does.
This variety means there's an entry point for almost every global palate. Like the sources noted, it can please picky eaters just as much as discerning consumers. You can find something mild and comforting, or you can find something with intense heat and tang. This adaptability is the true culinary foundation for its global success.